Northern Golf is bringing you some of Australia's most interesting minds right to your kitchen table with our Croaker Conversations series.
So hello, and thanks for joining us on Croaker Conversations today. My name's Kathy Rowling and I'm the Community Engagement Officer for Northern Golf Resource Management Group. On today's show, we have Kayde Lehman, who is the owner and founder of Spinifex Co, which is a line of classic, simple and practical clothing. Welcome, Kayde, and thanks for joining me.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be speaking with you.
I'm a little bit excited today because I think it's great to have, and I guess we still class you as a local girl to our area. Yeah,
I'm very
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, as you know, I grew up in Chillago. Just grew up around there and went to boarding school. And then when we left boarding school, I went straight contract mustering and went working with teams, in the Northern Gulf, and contracted around there. And then we moved to the Northern Territory. And we've done a fair bit more contracting around there. And then we started our own contracting team, my husband and I. And that kind of seen us move to Western Australia then. And we had two little boys where we then went on to manage a property for a few years over there. And then we finished up there and moved to southern Queensland. So we're now around Dalby area. We bought a little block here and just kind of moved a bit closer to the school for the kids. That's about us in a nutshell.
Thanks. So what prompted you to develop the Spinifex Co clothing line?
To be honest, we were contracting, and after having the two kids, I was kind of just at camp the whole time doing the bookwork and everyone's washing and all the cooking. And I suppose I just got to a stage where I had completely lost everything that I had loved doing. Who really enjoys cooking and washing other people's clothes?
True.
I kept telling myself that I was helping the business by doing it, but it just got to a point where it wasn't enough for me anymore, and I needed to have something of my own and do something creative again. I wasn't, you know what it's like. It's very dangerous going out mustering and being in the yard, so it just wasn't somewhere where I wanted to have the kids all the time. So, it's kind of something you do give up a bit. So I just kind of wanted to dive into being creative again and just have something for myself, really. That's pretty much why.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that something for you and that little bit of me time, especially when you have such a busy life.
It didn't really create any me time, unfortunately. I suppose I just prioritised it over other things. Yeah.
So have you always been interested in designing clothes? So how does that come about?
Never. My sister and I laugh about this all the time. I was the biggest tomboy growing up, and I still am not into, I'm still not into clothes really, or shoes or accessories or anything like that. So my sister was laughing at me last year. We went to the Keith Urban concert and we went shopping, which is not something I really enjoy doing either. And, I come out with a pair of jeans and a white shirt to wear, and she said, "You are the most uncommon fashion designer I have ever come across." always been creative. To be honest, I don't know why I went to designing clothes. It was something that I just kind of, I've always loved outfits. I just kind of started drawing one day beside the campfire, and that was what came out. And so I rolled with it. And it's where I am now.
Well, it's obviously working for you.
There's always, there's always times when you feel like you want to give up, or it's too hard, or you don't want to do it anymore. But that's probably more the business side of things rather than the actual designing of things.
Yeah. So for each design, I notice your clothes do seem like practical, something to just chuck on and wear, especially when you're a busy person. But where does your inspiration come from for each piece? How do you come up with that piece of clothing?
It comes from everywhere, really. Like, I'll see somebody walking past in the street and I'll go, oh, I like how that skirt sits, or I like the waistline on that skirt, or I like the sleeves on that shirt, or I'll often see something in the street that I'll just kind of bank in my memory, and then I'll spot something in the op shop and I'll like how something is with that, and I kind of I'm a very plain and simple person. I like it. I do like very casual stuff that you can just wear to town. Or dress up, like I wanted staple items that you could do anything with, really. I spend a lot of, I don't like social media. I spend a lot of time on Pinterest, though. That's a bit of a time waster for me. I spend a lot of time in there looking for specific things that I might be looking for in an outfit to see how it'll look. Or, so that's how I put it all together, really.
Pinterest is a great time waster. Yeah.
It is. The hours just go by and you go, oh.
So being in a rural or remote and now rural area, how do you go sourcing fabrics and supplies, and then finding a manufacturer to make your designs?
To start with, I was all Australian made. So I just I wanted it to be really high quality, so I went for the best reputable manufacturer that was in Sydney. And she had her own team of pattern makers. So I kind of just sent through sketches of what I wanted, and she had it all made up. It didn't actually go so well with her, unfortunately, and I had another friend getting stuff made through her at the same time, and just service was absolutely appalling, to be honest, and I really struggled in those first few months to get anything together and anything out, and I thought, oh God, if this is how long the whole process takes for one item, is it really worth doing? But I don't know. I'm unfortunately very persistent. It can be a very big downfall, but in this case, it was good because I just Googled everything. I watched a lot of tutorials and just asked a lot of other people advice. And so all of my sourcing now comes from one company and my manufacturer, and I've found a local pattern maker in Sydney that just works from home. It's all by email and photos. And,
Okay. So I've been following your Facebook page for a while, and I love your photos. Tell me about your photographer.
My photographer is my 6-year-old son at the moment, and sometimes my 4-year-old son. We'll just, after I pick them up from school, we go out into the paddock somewhere and they'll take some photos. I've often had to bribe them. Neither of us really like doing it, but it's just kind of how we've had to do it for now to save money. And so that's how the photos usually get done.
Great, I love it. So what marketing strategies would you suggest for a small, rural or remote business to use?
Oh gosh, that's probably one of the hardest things about business, because it's always changing. And it's the part that I don't love, because I love putting my stuff out there, but I don't like having to keep up and strategize and feeling the pressure to post at certain times to get exposure and all of that kind of stuff. So I kind of, I think the most important thing is to really sit down, and which is something I didn't do at the start, and it's probably held me back a lot until now, is to sit down and really get a clear story of what your brand is, who you're selling to, and why you're selling it and what problem you're solving for those people. Until you have that, posting and writing posts and finding photos that align with your brand are really hard, and it can feel quite soulless, I suppose, if you're posting things and writing things that aren't like yourself, and aren't like your brand. And I don't know, I am not great at talking in Instagram lingo, so I literally just write how I speak. I don't like just try and keep it as real as possible, I suppose. It just feels a lot more natural for me to do it that way anyway.
Do you think that's one of the main things that helps you find new customers, is that brand?
Yeah, definitely. And because there's always a story behind every brand. There's a story about why you started it. Mine was obviously, I was frustrated at the lack of being able to just go online and find a whole outfit that wasn't from a store that dressed, no offense, but 18-year-olds, it was really hard for me, because I wasn't exposed to any other, I don't know, there's probably lots of online stores that have it all under one roof, but I couldn't find anything at the time, which is why I started. So yeah, if the reason why you're doing it is too broad, or you start trying to branch out to and being too broad, I suppose you start losing that audience. So it's really about connecting with people. So I think it's really important to know why you're doing it, to really connect with the people who you're trying to sell it to, and it just goes from there. Like, if you're nailing your brand and why you're doing it, I suppose, people find it very interesting and tag along.
Yeah, well, it seems to be working for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it has its slow times, and it has its times where I feel like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I feel like a bit of a hamster on a wheel, but I suppose it's just it's just that expectation from yourself to always be doing better, I suppose.
With having such a busy life, you're a mum, you're a wife, you've got your own property, and you're trying to run your business as well. What do you find are the best things that keeps you focused and keeps you getting each task done each day?
Oh, this is something I fall into the pits with quite often, because I'm very, I'm not I'm not good at having an unstructured life, and this is the first time since having the kids that both kids have been at school, and I've found I've had a lot more time actually, and I've actually found it harder. The more time I have free to do it, the less I seem to get done for some reason. So I have found that, oh God, it's just a constant trying to stay on top of really everything in life, like eating healthy, going to bed early, having that screen-free time and getting up and having a schedule, you know, like I always get my, you know, the not fun jobs first. So you're really ticking off your list, and you feel like, you know, ticking off those important jobs kind of energizes you for the rest of the day to keep going with whatever else you might need to be doing. Yeah, I just kind of have a little bit of a rough breakdown of what I need to do every day. Yeah, but you know what it's like. You then all of a sudden get tossed some cattle work jobs, or, you know, your husband rings you and wants you to go and do this. So you kind of sometimes got to push everything aside for the day and go and do other stuff. And sometimes you're up in the office till 10 o'clock at night, but it's all part of it, really.
So through Northern Gulf, we run Bush Business, which is a series of workshops, and it helps encourage rural and remote people to build micro businesses. So what tips would you give someone who was starting out, you know, in a hobby or small business?
I think the biggest thing is to keep the fun side of it going, I suppose. Remember the reason why you started it, because as soon as you lose that, it's no longer fun, and it becomes just another job, really. So I think the biggest thing would be to make sure you keep the fun side of the business and why you started it. And a big thing is really when you're starting out, once you start getting customers, to be honest about where you are, and I suppose delivery times, and you know, when I first started posting items out, we had a mailman once a week, you know, so by the time if an order was placed on Monday afternoon, like he'd come Monday morning, so it would be a full week before you could get those parcels posted off. So if you've got a product that you're selling, I think definitely be honest about where you are, and just stay true to your story, really.
So what's the best thing, or what do you enjoy most about running your business?
Just the creative side of, really. I love I love finding other women to dress up, really, and take photos of, rather than myself. I love creating photo shoots, and I love editing photos, and I love designing clothes, and I love choosing fabrics, and you know, I've got about 10 drawers full of fabrics that I can go through every time I design a new piece of clothing, and that's definitely the fun side of it.
Yeah. So what would be your least favourite part?
Oh, the office work. I don't mind emailing and stuff, but I do not enjoy actually being on social media. I actually wait until I'm in the mood for creating some posts, and then I use an app called Plan. And so you can upload all your photos into that and write posts to go with them. And so when it comes time to post, you've got posts sitting there ready that are, you know, genuine to how you are and how you felt, and you can you're not writing a post just to post. Then you've actually got something genuine to you, and yeah, so that is actually my least favourite part of it. Is definitely the office work and staying up with I suppose invoices and customer questions and stuff is a lot to keep up with.
So where do we expect to see Spinifex Co go from here?
Oh, well, I don't really think, I probably should, but I don't really think of the future too much as to where I want to go. I find as soon as I do that, I have this, I feel like I would love to get really big and yeah, just be so much more accessible to women and rural women everywhere, you know. But yeah, it's just keeping it at a level also where I can manage it at the moment. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going from here. I'm just kind of ticking along and doing my thing until, I don't know, I'm sure opportunities will arise, hopefully down the track somewhere.
That's great. So now that we sort of know a little bit about you, where do we find your products? Where's the best place for us to find your products?
Oh, well, I am on, I've got a website, www.spinifex.com. That is where you can obviously go to have a look at everything. I've got an Instagram page, Spinifex Co, the label, I think it is. And that's where I spend a lot of my time. Instagram for me is kind of like Pinterest, where you can actually, you know, it's more that visual kind of thing. But yeah, I've got a Facebook page as well, so it's all just under Spinifex Co. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope our interview goes up on the website next week. And I hope we talk to you again in the future.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Katie.